Hello, ladies. Welcome back to Julie Spann Inspires. Today, we're going to be continuing our series. You don't need another sign because you don't. In part one, if you remember, we talked about naming the step we've been avoiding, not announcing it, not explaining it to everybody, not turning it into a whole 5-year plan, but just being honest enough to write it down, to say it to ourselves. The step that I've been avoiding is blank. And if you did that, my sister, even privately, I want you to know that mattered. Because once you name the step, it's not just floating around in your mind anymore. It's not just this vague little feeling in the background. It's not just, I probably need to deal with that one day. Nope. Now it has a name. And once something has a name, we can bring it before God honestly and concretely. But today I want to ask you the next question. You know, I got another one, right? Now that you've named it, what has delaying that step been costing you? Because delay doesn't always feel dangerous at first, does it? Sometimes delay feels very safe. We're being wise. It feels calm. It feels like we're being careful. It feels like we're protecting ourselves, right? But I want you to know delay has a price. A lot of times we don't pay that price all at once, so we hardly notice it. We pay it very slowly. A little peace here, gone. A little confidence there, gone. A little courage here, lost. A little momentum there, lost. A little time that we can't get back. And after a while, the step that we've been putting off starts to feel heavier than it needed to be. Not because the step got heavier, but because we gave more time for fear to grow around it. So today we're not going to beat ourselves up about that though. We're not going to sit in shame. That's not the point. We're just going to be honest with ourselves, okay? Because what helps us get moving is admitting that staying still too long has cost us more than we thought it was. You know, delay can cost us our peace, it can cost us our joy, and we may be doing other things in other parts of our lives correctly, showing up for people, going to work, taking care of our families, all that stuff, trying to take care of ourselves physically, enjoying our day. Still though, somewhere in the background, that step's still haunting us. It keeps tapping on the window of our minds. It keeps showing up when things get quiet. It keeps coming back to our minds in quiet times. And even if nobody else knows it, my sister, you know, don't you? You know that there's something you keep postponing, and that can steal your peace. Because unfinished obedience can become mental noise. It's not always loud noise. Sometimes it's just that quiet pressure in the back of your mind. You know what I'm saying? That feeling that says, I really should deal with that. And my sister, that can wear on you over time. And that's not because God's trying to torment you. No, but it's your spirit showing you that you keep circling around something that you need to face, you need to deal with. Delay can also cost you your confidence because every time we say, I'll do it later, and later comes and we don't do it, something happens on the inside of us. We start trusting our own follow through a little less every time. We start wondering if we're really serious. We start thinking things like, I never finish what I start. I always start and stop. I'm just not disciplined. Maybe I'm not the kind of person who follows through. But sometimes that's not the whole story. Sometimes the truth is closer to we've practiced avoidance much longer than we've practiced obedience. And that matters because confidence isn't only built by thinking better thoughts. Confidence is also built when you see yourself do what you said you were going to do, being faithful, even if it's in something small, even if nobody claps, even if the first step is awkward. Every time you obey that next step, you give yourself confidence, evidence that you can move, evidence that fear doesn't have to run your life, evidence that you're not stuck where you started, evidence that God can work with your imperfect beginning. You hear me? Because He can. So if delay's been costing you confidence, the way back is not to sit there all day thinking how to make yourself feel confident. Sometimes the way back is just taking a step that says, I moved. Delay can cost you momentum too. That's big. Because the longer we put something off, the bigger it can feel, the heavier it can feel. A phone call can start feeling like a mountain. A simple outline can start feeling like a whole book. You know what I'm talking about. A short practice video can start feeling like an entire public performance. An application can start feeling like a life sentence. A conversation can start feeling like a courtroom drama. Not because it's really that big, my sister, but because we've been carrying it too long in our minds without acting on it. We've imagined what can go wrong, all the things that could go wrong. We've imagined all the horrible things people might think. We've imagined the awkwardness, how many mistakes we might make. We've imagined the worst case scenario about it all. We've imagined the perfect version in our minds so many times that the real version feels totally unacceptable. And now the step feels heavier than it really is. That's one of the tricks of delay. Delay can make a small step feel like a huge one. But movement has a way of shrinking that thing back down to size. I'm telling you. When you finally open that document, it becomes a document again. When you finally make that call, it becomes a phone call. When you record that practice video, it becomes simply a practice video again. When you send that email, it becomes an email. That monster in your mind becomes a step in your day. And sometimes that's where the freedom begins to start. Delay can also cost you skill, my sister. And this one is also important because you can't get better at something you never practiced, can you? The video you don't record can't teach you how to record a better one. Ha ha, I know that. The page that you don't write can't teach you to become a better writer. The business you don't get down to doing can't tell you how to serve your audience better. The application you never submit can't teach you what doors may open. The conversation you never have can't bring clarity to your relationship. The room you never start cleaning can't become orderly and a place where you can feel comfortable and effective. The gift you hide can't grow through use. Sometimes we're asking God to make us excellent in an area that we haven't been willing to practice yet. But skill usually comes after movement and practice. Clarity comes after movement. Confidence comes after movement, my sister. Correction comes after movement. There's so much revelation in implementation. I heard someone say that, and that's great. Sometimes you don't know what to fix until you start. Sometimes you don't know what you need to learn next until you get out there and start learning and moving. Sometimes you don't know what God already placed in you until you begin using it, my sister. That's why starting matters. Not because the first version is going to be perfect. It probably won't be. I'm a witness to that. But even though it's awkward, even though it may have rough edges, it may teach you exactly what you need to improve the next time. But that's not failure. I want you to understand that. That's purpose, putting on shoes. That's faith, taking a step. That's the dream, leaving your imagination and walking out into real life. Delay can cost you opportunity as well. Ecclesiastes 11:4 says, He that observes the wind shall not sow, and he that regards the clouds shall not reap. That verse is so practical to me. Because if we keep watching the conditions, the wind, we may never sow. If we keep studying the clouds, we may never reap. And isn't that what we really do sometimes? We look at the weather of our lives and say, no, not yet. Conditions aren't right. I'm tired. I'm too tired. I'm too busy. I don't have enough time. I don't know enough. I don't feel ready. I don't have enough money yet. People may not understand what I'm trying to bring out here. The timing isn't quite right, right? And sometimes those things can be true. I'm not pretending that life is simple or easy. I'm not saying you don't have responsibilities. I know you do. I'm not saying you should ignore wisdom. I am not. What I'm saying is this: there will almost always be wind. There will almost always be clouds, my sister. There will almost always be something that makes the timing feel not perfect. At some point, we have to ask ourselves, am I waiting for wisdom, or am I waiting for a world where nothing feels uncomfortable? Because that world doesn't exist. There may never be a day when everything is calm, when everybody understands what we're trying to do and they're supporting us. There may never be a day when all the money's there, all the confidence we feel we need is there, all the fear is gone, all the whole path that we're taking is visible. But that doesn't mean we can't sow. That doesn't mean we can't begin, my sister. That doesn't mean you can't take the next faithful step that God put in your heart to take. And here's another thing delay can cost. Delay can cost trust. Now, not God's trust in you. Let me just preface this right. I'm talking about your trust in your own follow through, in your own ability to follow through. When we say, I'll do it next week, and then next week comes and we don't do it, next week becomes the next week. Next month becomes the next season. Next season becomes the next year. After a while, later becomes a place where purpose just goes to sit down and doesn't rise up again. But today we're not sending that step to the later territory. We're going to bring it into reality. We're going to make it practical and doable because action will break that spell of delay over you. Not a giant action, not a dramatic action. That's not necessary. Not a whole life overhaul, my sister. You just need to take a step, one step, and it can be small. James 1:22 says this, but be ye doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. That verse is strong because hearing isn't the same as doing. Being inspired isn't the same as moving. Taking notes isn't the same, my sister, as obeying. Agreeing with truth isn't the same as applying it in our lives, is it? And I say that with love because I know that place. I know what it likes to feel stirred, inspired, encouraged, full of ideas, and still delay that next step. Sometimes we don't need another stirring. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes we need a small act of obedience to break free of that inertia, to break free of that place of just not doing, not believing. We need something that feels real, something we can point to and say, I moved. I did it. So let's make this very practical. Look at the step that you named in part one and ask yourself three questions. Question one, what has delaying this step already cost me? Don't write what sounds deep, my sister. Just write what's true. What has that cost you? Maybe it's cost you peace. Maybe it's cost you confidence. Maybe it's cost you your momentum. Maybe it's cost you practice or getting better at something. Maybe it's cost you money because you're putting off doing something. Maybe it's cost you your dream. Maybe it's cost you opportunities. Maybe it's cost you time. Maybe it's cost you the feeling that you can't trust yourself to follow through. Maybe it's cost you another month of thinking about what you could have started if you'd have moved last month. Again, this isn't for shame. This is for clarity. And the second question, what will it cost me if I keep delaying? That question matters too, because delay has a future price tag to it. If you keep delaying, what might happen? Does the room get more overwhelming? Does the dream keep sitting in that notebook unrealized? Does the business idea stay only an idea and you never bring it to the marketplace? Does the conversation keep growing heavier because you're dreading having it and you don't move on that? Does the opportunity pass you by? Does your confidence grow weaker and weaker? Does your peace stay interrupted? Does the same year, repeat itself again and again? Sometimes we don't know or we don't move because we're afraid of the cost of moving, but we also need to consider the cost of delay moving. When you delay moving, that's not free. Question 3. What's one small step that I can take in the next 24 hours? Just one small step, not the whole thing, not the perfect thing, not the impressive thing, just the next thing. Maybe you can't finish the whole project today. Maybe you can't do the whole thing, but you can open the file, my sister. Maybe you can't write the whole book today, but you can write 10 sentences, right? Maybe you can't launch the whole business today, but you can write down that first offer. Just work on that. Maybe you can't clean the whole house today, but you can clear one surface. Maybe you can't change your whole career today, but you know what you can do? You can update one section of your resume today in preparation for that. Maybe you can't record the whole video today, but you can record a two-minute practice version. Amen. Maybe you can't fix the whole situation today, but you can make the phone call. Maybe you can't do everything today, my sister, but you can do something today. And sometimes something is where the door starts opening for us. So here's the action step for today. Write these 3 sentences. Because I've delayed this step, it has cost me blank. And if I keep delaying, it may cost me blank. But in the next 24 hours, I will blank. And make that last sentence specific, not I'll work on it. That's too vague. Write the actual step you're willing to take today. I'll open the document. I'll make the phone call. I'll write 10 sentences. I'll send that email. I'll record that 2-minute practice video. I'll clear off the desk. I'll apply for that opportunity. I'll set that appointment. I'll outline that idea. I'll spend 30 minutes on the thing that I keep avoiding. Just one step, my sister, one act of movement, one piece of evidence that fear doesn't get the final word. And after you take that step, don't despise it because it's small either. Thank God for the small beginning because it's a beginning. Thank God that you moved because even a small movement is movement. Thank God that you stopped letting delay make the decisions for you. Because when you understand the cost of delay, movement can start looking less scary than staying stuck. And that's where I want to leave you today. I don't want to leave you condemned, my sister. I don't want to leave you overwhelmed. I don't want to leave you in a state of trying to fix your whole life in 24 hours. Come on now. I just want you to be honest with yourself. I just want to leave you awake. I just want to leave you ready to move on that one step. Because in the next video, we're going to talk about how to begin with what's already in your hand. Not the perfect plan, not the perfect confidence, not the perfect conditions, but just the next faithful step with what God has already put in your hands. If this video helped you, please like it and subscribe, and come back for more encouragement to help you move forward with wisdom, purpose, and courage. Amen. Much love, my sisters. See you next time.